That's right. A lot of intellectual horsepower right here.
Gosh, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Rally.com Big Three. My name is Bass Masters with Kenny Bruce.
Yes.
Of SceneDaily.com and my colleague.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you,
Instead of
Bass.
sidekick today, I call him my colleague Buzz Cutler. We're talking NASCAR racing. We're going to do another quote edition, Kenny, where we pick a quote and then we discuss it. So, in the interest of courtesy, why don't we let you go first? We picked a quote for you from Rick Hendrick talking about Jeff Gordon after that win at Phoenix. Take a listen.
Okay.
When you're a champion like Jeff Gordon, you know you can still do it when people kind of overlook you. I think it's something that he wanted to do and wanted to prove.
All right, so there you go. Do you see Jeff Gordon in a different light now that he's won this race?
Well, I mean, no, I don't, because I've covered Jeff since before when he came into the series. I mean, I remember him with the little mustache, and the Baby Ruth car.
Right.
I can still remember that. And, it was big for the fans. It was big for Jeff. But for me personally, it didn't put it in any different light.
Championship contender as far as this season, getting number 5. How do you see the prospects of that?
I mean, he's been a contender. He was a contender last year. But what I think about with that is like, okay, those guys were not bad last year. It's like they've got a team that could win the championship, but they didn't win the championship. So that means there was a team out there that was better than them, even though they were on their game.
Right.
I don't see that changing.
Yeah, when I think of Jeff Gordon in terms of the championship, I think he's a step behind guys like Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin. Those are the guys that I expect to see fighting it out for the end. I see Jeff Gordon more in the, RCR camp. He's a Jeff Burton or maybe a Matt Kenseth type. He's a step behind the guys now that I really expect to be duking it out at the end.
I just see Jeff Gordon as a guy who could potentially go out there and get wins still.
Yeah.
And I think he just didn't do it last year, even though he had a number of opportunities to do so. I think with the Hendrick equipment is good, and Jeff's got maybe a little extra with Alan Gustafson, which I think is way too early to say whether he does or he doesn't. I think this guy could win a championship. All right, Cutler, would you like to take the next quote?
I would like to take the next quote, and because I'm not afraid to pander, I have picked a quote from Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here it is.
We still got good confidence, and hopefully we can maintain our work ethic and our ability to try to, want to work together every day on Saturday and Friday, want to be together, want to work together, and want to talk together, and want to work through the car in the same room, That's a good thing right now, and it's a great feeling.
The thing that strikes me about this quote is a couple things, first of all. First, yes, Junior seems much lighter, much more up, much happier than we have heard him many times over the past couple of seasons. A lot of times he comes into the media center in 2010, 2009, I was like, dude, get a Xanax, something. You sound so depressed. And he certainly doesn't sound like that anymore. I think the proof will be in the pudding when things go wrong. Right now, he's had 2 good races, 2 tracks that are Dale Earnhardt Jr. style tracks.
Agree.
Good cars. What happens when they miss the setup? What happens when he gets caught up in somebody else's mess? What happens when he has a tire go down? Will he let his frustration, his emotions, be his undoing?
But in fairness, when you think about Phoenix, and I admit, I agree, this is a junior style racetrack. Hendrick Motorsports roll off the truck. None of the cars were that good. Right. None of the cars were that fast. They all had to find speed. And number 2, he did have problems.
The only thing I can say about Junior's deal this year after 2 races is I'm still not sold on all this rah-rah stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right, I've got our last quote of the day. I'm going to read mine.
It's a recitation.
It is. Actually, there's 2 quotes, 2 in 1. And we all work on the Sporting News Power Poll, so I don't know which. It may not have been one of us that wrote this. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
You write about Kyle Busch?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't any of us who wrote this. Gracious in defeat, the prospect of a mature Kyle Busch should scare every other Cup driver. And from David Newton's column on ESPN, we've seen bits and pieces that make us believe Busch has achieved the maturity it takes to win the championship. On Sunday at Phoenix International Raceway, we saw the entire package. He took a left into Carl Edwards, Kenny. Is that the entire package? I feel like I've heard this before. Oh, we've seen the maturity. Kyle needs to win a championship. I feel like I've read that so many times.
Kind of like the Dale Jr. thing. Until I see it on the track, I'm not going to buy into it. I mean, sure, he's a little more mature. He's got another year under his belt. He's competitive, but maturity, it's more than just, winning races.
And also, you think about last season in the chase and the problems that he had.
Yeah.
I think a conclusion was, hey, you can't get taken out by guys in the chase, like Rudiman at Kansas. You don't want to have those enemies on the racetrack.
Right.
Well, what happened at Phoenix was he made an enemy out of Carl Edwards, and Carl didn't retaliate. Why he didn't retaliate, I don't know. Maybe it was Kyle's apology was so darn sincere. I don't know, man. You know,
Well,
I'm
wait,
just not sold yet,
wasn't it-
like you.
That was it.
Wasn't it after the first Richmond race last season where everybody started talking about the new Kyle Busch?
Yeah, there was a new Kyle Busch
Okay,
thing.
after that race, throughout the rest of the season, did we see the new Kyle Busch?
We saw Kyle flipping
through and
off people
through?
at Texas. We
No,
saw Kyle getting taken out by Rudiman. And there was one other incident in the chase, was there not?
We've always said that Kyle's greatest gift is also one of his shortcomings, which is his fire, his aggression, his petulance. And I don't necessarily see that changing.
Yeah, and the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing, I mean, I think they understand that, they realize that, and I think it's as much up to them to rein him in,
Right.
and to help him get his head on straight. You know, he's still gonna make mistakes, he's still gonna go off from time to time, but every driver does that. But every driver doesn't do that when he's up running for the win.
Right.
So it's gonna be up to them to kind of help him keep himself in check, I think.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It comes down to decision making, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you decide to do? When do you decide to do it? If you have a 10th place car, you just say, hang it all, I'm not going to win anyway, and you wreck, you just cost yourself a bunch of points. That's a bad decision. Sometimes you got a 10th place car, you need to get 10th place points and be satisfied and go on. All right, that has been your Rowdy.com Big Three for today. Thank you, Kenny Bruce,
Thank
for
you.
joining us here today. For Buzz Cutler, my name is Bass Masters. We will see you next time.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.